The storm rolled in over the forbidden forest without warning. Hagrid pulled his moleskin coat tight around him as the first cold drops hit his face. The trees groaned and swayed. The wind rushed through the branches like a giant taking a deep breath. "Come on, Fang," he muttered. "Was just a light patrol," I said. "Be back before midnight," I said. Fang whined and pressed closer to Hagrid's leg as thunder cracked overhead. A strange smell hit Hagrid's nose then, sharp and almost metallic, like cold air around a lightning strike. But there was no lightning yet. The centaurs had been tense all week. They'd refused to speak to him that afternoon, staring instead at the darkening sky, muttering about a star falling where no star should be. Now, as Hagrid pushed through a tangle of thorn bushes, he saw why. The clearing ahead was lit by a strange green-white glow. Not the soft light of a wand, not the harsh flash of a spell. It was a steady, humming light, like the air itself was opening. "Stay," Hagrid told Fang, though Fang had already tried to dig his paws into the mud. Hagrid stepped forward, one huge hand on his pink umbrella, out of pure habit. The light hung in the air above the center of the clearing, a rip in nothing. It was shaped like a twisting oval, edges flickering like torn paper. Inside it, there was only swirling gray, like a storm cloud trapped in a bubble. "Blimey," Hagrid whispered. The hair on his arm stood up. Magic. Yes, but wrong. Not like Portkeys. Not like apparition. Not like anything he'd seen. The rip shivered. Something small tumbled out. Hagrid moved on instinct. He lunged, ready to catch whatever poor creature had been spat out by this thing. But halfway down, the falling shape slowed. It stopped a few feet above the ground, as if invisible hands had caught it. The figure turned in the air with perfect balance and landed lightly on the muddy ground. No splash, no stumble. The light behind it flickered once more, then snapped shut with a sharp crack. The clearing fell into darkness again, apart from the pale glow of Hagrid's umbrella and the faint glimmer of the moon between clouds. Hagrid stared. Fang gave a soft, terrified howl. The creature in front of him was tiny, not even up to Hagrid's knee. It wore a simple brown robe with a hood, soaked by the rain. Its skin was green and wrinkled like old bark. Its ears stretched out sideways, long and pointed. Its eyes were large and yellow-green, calm and bright at the same time. It looked up at Hagrid as if he were just another tree in the forest. "Lost, I am not," the creature said. Its voice was rough and soft, like gravel in a warm hand. "Called, I was, to this place of strange light." Hagrid's mouth opened and closed. Hello," he managed. "Yeah. All right, are ya? Name's Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. That's the school up there. You, some kind of house elf?" The small creature blinked once, slowly. House. Elf. It tasted the words like they were new. "No. A Jedi, I am. Yoda, I'm called." Before Hagrid could ask what a Jedi was, something crashed through the trees behind him. A hippogriff burst into the clearing, eyes wide, wings half flared. It had bolted from the storm, terrors of its own driving it forward. It saw Hagrid, Fang, and the strange light that still seemed to cling to Yoda, and shrieked in panic. It charged, talons slicing the muddy ground. Hagrid threw out his hands. "Whoa! Whoa! Easy there! Easy!" He had no time. The hippogriff was already on them. The tiny green stranger did not move his feet. He simply turned his head. He lifted one three-fingered hand. The hippogriff stopped dead. Not just slowed. It froze mid-stride, one talon hanging in the air. Its wings shook, but its body did not move forward another inch. It was as if the air around it had turned to stone. Fang fell on his side, scrambling backward, nails digging into the mud. Hagrid's jaw dropped. Slowly, the creature turned its hand. The hippogriff's panicked eyes softened. It lowered its head, as if lulled, like Hagrid's voice had finally reached it. The frozen tension in its muscles eased. Fear. Yoda's ears twitched. Strong in this one. Strong in this forest. Calm. We must bring. He curled his fingers gently. The invisible hold released. The hippogriff stepped back, chest heaving, then turned and trotted away, wings tucked. A loud crack rang out again. This time, it was a tree behind them. A dead trunk, half rotted, gave way under the weight of the storm and began to topple straight toward them. Hagrid moved to shove Yoda out of the way. He didn't get the chance. The little figure slipped forward with a blur of movement that Hagrid's eyes barely followed. That three-fingered hand lifted again. The falling trunk slowed in midair, hanging over them like a giant club caught on an invisible hook. Rain drummed on the bark. Mud splashed. The world held its breath. Yoda murmured, not even sounding strained. He gently shifted his hand. The tree drifted sideways, as if pushed by a giant, careful wind, and thudded harmlessly into the ground. Silence followed, broken only by Fang's whine. Hagrid swallowed. "Right," he said in a small voice. "So, not a house elf then?" Yoda looked past him. Through the trees, faint and far, Hogwarts glowed on the hill. Its towers were bright points against the dark. Yoda's gaze narrowed. In his eyes, something seemed to turn inward and outward at the same time. For a moment, he was not looking at the castle. He was looking through it, beyond it, into something only he could feel. "Strong this place is," he said quietly, "with light and shadow." Far away, in a stone castle bedroom, Harry Potter jolted awake. His scar burned like it was on fire. He saw, just for a second, not Voldemort's red eyes, but a pair of yellow-green ones, set in a small, strange face. He saw a silver-green blade of light flash in the darkness. He heard a voice in his head, old and calm. Then it was gone. Harry clutched his scar, heart racing. "What was that?" he whispered to the empty room. Back in the forest, Hagrid licked his lips. "So, Master Yoda," he said slowly, getting the title wrong but trying his best. "Reckon we should get ye up to the headmaster. Dumbledore'll want to meet you proper." Yoda pulled his robe tighter against the rain. His ears flicked at the name. "Head. Master," he repeated. "Yes, meet him I must. Much fear, in this place there is. Much war. Learn, we must, what darkness has come." He took a small step forward. "Lead on, Hagrid." Hagrid stared down at him, then nodded. He had escorted giants, dragons, and a three-headed dog in his time. But never anything like this. He turned toward the castle lights. The tiny green stranger walked at his side, his steps short but steady, as thunder rolled overhead and the forest watched them go. Dumbledore's office smelled of tea and old paper and phoenix feathers. Rain beat against the windows. The storm outside turned the glass into sheets of gray, broken only by flashes of distant lightning. Inside, the golden instruments on the shelves ticked and hummed, measuring magic in ways no student quite understood. The stone gargoyle downstairs had stepped aside without a password when Hagrid approached with his strange guest. That had unsettled Hagrid more than anything. Now Yoda sat in a wooden chair opposite Dumbledore's desk. Or rather, Yoda sat in the seat of the chair like a child in a giant's throne, his legs dangling. His feet did not come close to the floor. The desk loomed above him. He eyed the chair's rim thoughtfully. "Tall, this furniture is," he muttered. Fawkes, perched nearby, tilted his head, curious. Dumbledore watched Yoda with bright blue eyes that held both kindness and sharp attention. His half-moon spectacles glittered in the candlelight. "Well," he said at last, breaking the silence. You appear to have made quite an entrance, my friend. Chose it I did not, Yoda replied calmly. Pulled I was, by a wound in the Force. Force, repeated Professor McGonagall, who stood stiffly to one side, arms folded. Is that what you call your magic? Yoda shook his head, ears twitching. Not magic, it is. Life. Between all things, it flows, guides the wise, tempts the foolish. In it, I am strong. As in your wands, you are. Snape snorted quietly from the shadows near the doorway. Snape's black eyes watched everything. The stranger. Dumbledore. Hagrid, who shifted his weight from foot to foot, the way Fawkes's feathers fluffed when Yoda spoke. Snape had tried to slip into the creature's mind the moment he entered. It had been like staring into fog. Not a blank wall, worse, a gentle, endless mist that swallowed his probe without resistance. No thoughts for him to grip, no surface for his legilimency to catch. He did not like that. So, Snape said softly, you are some kind of foreign wizard, using wandless magic that doesn't register on any spell I know. He stepped closer, the black of his robes almost blending into the wall. Or you are something else entirely. Yoda met his gaze. Much in common, you and I have, Yoda said. Mistrust. Prepared for betrayal, you are. Wise, that is. Dangerous also. Snape's eyes narrowed. Dumbledore's mouth twitched. Perhaps, Dumbledore said gently. We should begin at the beginning. You said you were pulled here. From where? Yoda took a slow breath. From far away, he said. His voice grew softer, less playful. From another galaxy. Long have I served as master of the Jedi Order. Guardians we were, of peace. For centuries, we kept balance. Then war came, the Clone Wars. Hagrid leaned forward, hanging on every word. McGonagall's lips thinned. Snape only watched. In this war, Yoda went on, eyes distant now, fought we did, for the Republic. Many worlds, many battles. Strong, the dark side grew. One by one, fell my students, my friends. His fingers curled slightly on the arm of the chair. In the end, destroyed the Jedi were. Hunted, betrayed. Exile, I chose. To wait, to meditate, to guide, when I could, from the shadows. Silence settled over the room. Even the little silver instruments seemed to quiet, as if listening. And now, you are here, Dumbledore said softly. Far from that war, in the middle of another. Yoda's eyes focused on him again. Not by chance, he said. Felt I did. A rip in the Force. A wound. Stronger than any I have known since the fall of the Jedi. Pulled toward it I was. This world. His ears twitched. This Hogwarts. McGonagall exchanged a quick glance with Dumbledore. Albus, she said quietly. If what he says is true. Oh, I am quite sure it is, Dumbledore replied. There are many forms of magic we do not understand, Minerva, and many kinds of power. Some wear robes, some wear armor, some are small and green. He smiled at Yoda. Tell me, Dumbledore went on, since arriving, what have you sensed? Yoda closed his eyes. For a moment, the office grew very still. Even the storm outside seemed to soften. Bright this castle is, he said at last, full of young minds, love, hope, mischief. A corner of his mouth lifted. But below and beyond, cracks, wounds, pieces of a soul torn apart, death's mark, scattered, and one spirit, twisted, afraid, dangerous. Snape's hand tightened on the back of a nearby chair. Voldemort, Dumbledore said simply. Hagrid flinched at the name. McGonagall's eyes went hard. Yoda tilted his head. This Voldemort, he said. Your Dark Lord? Yes. This world's Sith. Sith? McGonagall repeated. Dark users of the Force, Yoda explained. Power, they seek. Control, death, they fear. So death, they bring. To all. Yes, Dumbledore said. That sounds familiar. The gargoyle downstairs grated open again. A pink, sugary voice floated up the staircase. Headmaster, I must insist that we speak at once about… Umbridge. McGonagall's jaw clenched. Dumbledore sighed. Ah, he murmured. Our ministry representative has arrived. Yoda's ears twitched at the sickly sweet tone as Umbridge swept into the office in a cloud of perfume and pink wool. Her little black bow was fixed firmly in her hair. Her smile did not reach her cold eyes. Headmaster, she said, I have just heard the most alarming rumor about some sort of creature you have brought into this school without informing the ministry. I do hope it is not true, for your sake. Then she saw Yoda. Her smile froze. Oh, she said. How quaint. Yoda looked at her thoughtful, taking in the lace, the kitten plates, the eyes that reminded him of politicians he had known long ago. Many rules you love, he said. Umbridge blinked. I beg your pardon, she said, voice tight. Rules. Lines on paper. Walls you build. With words, Yoda said. But people? Less, you see. Only tools. Or trouble. Umbridge's pink face darkened by a shade. Snape hid a very small smirk. I will need to see the ministry paperwork for this. Visitor, she said sharply, turning to Dumbledore. Classification, registration, restrictions on movement. There are laws about non-human entities, Albus, even ones who can talk. And yet, Dumbledore said calmly, our guest has already saved Hagrid's life in the Forbidden Forest. He also kept a panicked hippogriff from trampling a path of destruction. I feel that counts for something, even without paperwork. Umbridge's eyes slid back to Yoda. That remains to be seen. Yoda swung his feet once, the chair too big beneath him. He had faced Sith Lords, separatist armies, and clone troopers turned traitor. One small, angry bureaucrat did not frighten him, but he felt the poison in her, not the sharp blade of the dark side, the slow rot of fear and control. Much fear, in this one also, he murmured. What was that? Umbridge snapped. Nothing, Yoda said pleasantly. Just thinking I was. Dumbledore folded his hands. For now, he said, our guest will stay here at Hogwarts, under my care. I will inform the ministry when we know more about why he is here and how long he will remain. Until then, Dolores, I ask that you extend him the same courtesy you give all staff and students. Umbridge's smile did not move. Of course, Headmaster, she said. I will be watching. She swept out in a rustle of pink, leaving a faint smell of perfume and ink. The room exhaled. Delightful woman, Yoda said dryly. Hagrid snorted before he could stop himself. McGonagall's lips twitched. Snape said nothing, but for the first time that night, he almost liked the little green stranger. The next morning, Hogwarts woke to a new rumor. He's a goblin, said a Ravenclaw second year at breakfast. A special goblin from Gringotts, because Dumbledore borrowed too much gold. He's a cursed garden gnome, a Slytherin sneered. Escaped from some muggle's front yard. Ron, don't be ridiculous. He's clearly not a goblin, Hermione said for the third time. Did you not hear what Ginny said? Fred and George saw him in the corridor, and he was floating his own chair. Yeah, but that could be magic, Ron argued, around a mouthful of toast. Like proper magic. British magic. Not whatever weird stuff you keep reading about. Harry listened, only half paying attention. His scar still itched faintly from the night before. The image of those yellow-green eyes was stuck in his mind. It didn't feel like Voldemort, he said quietly, his fork pushing scrambled eggs around his plate. But it also didn't feel like nothing. Hermione glanced at him, worry in her eyes. Do you think he's dangerous? She asked. Harry thought of the way his scar burned during true visions, the way Voldemort's presence felt like ice and knives. This had been different. Strange. Strong. But not cold. I don't know, Harry said. But Dumbledore's got him in his office, so he can't be all bad. Right? Ron shrugged. The last time Dumbledore trusted someone weird, it was Lockhart, he pointed out. And we all know how that turned out. Hermione rolled her eyes. This one came through a magical rift and stopped a charging hippogriff with his mind. Ron, he's not Lockhart. Fine, Ron said. So he's like a tiny mind control warrior goblin. Much better. At the staff table, Yoda sat on a chair that had been hastily lowered and charmed to move closer to the table. Even so, he had to reach up for his plate. His little hands carefully cut a slice of toast. He watched the students. He felt them. So many bright sparks. Fear, joy, annoyance, curiosity. A constant hum of youth and magic. Beside him, Dumbledore poured tea. You have made quite an impression already, the headmaster said softly. Big, your chairs are, Yoda replied. For small visitors, not built. This place is. Dumbledore said. Yes, Hogwarts was not designed with many dimensions in mind. At that moment, one of the moving staircases near the Great Hall entrance shuddered and changed direction. A group of first years groaned as the staircase carried them up to the wrong floor. Yoda turned his head, eyes following the shifting steps. Living, your castle seems, he noted. In its own way, Dumbledore said. Hogwarts has moods. It likes to keep people on their toes, sometimes quite literally. Yoda chewed his toast thoughtfully. Stairs. I must watch, decided. A hush fell over the Great Hall. Dumbledore rose. Before we begin the day, he said, his voice carrying easily, I would like to introduce a guest who will be staying with us for a time. He has come from very far away. He is a skilled master of a different kind of power. Please welcome Master Yoda. Hundreds of eyes turned to the small green figure with the large ears and the simple robe. There was a beat of stunned silence. Then the whispers exploded like firecrackers. Master what? Is that a goblin? Did he say from far away, like other country far away, or? Reckon he's dangerous? Harry watched Yoda stand on his chair to be seen. The little figure bowed, calm and respectful. A pleasure this is, Yoda said. Learn, I hope, as much as teach I do. His voice carried oddly, soft but clear. Harry's scar gave a small, answering throb. At the Slytherin table, Draco Malfoy smirked. At least he's shorter than Potter, he muttered. At the end of the staff table, Umbridge clapped her hands together in small, stiff motions, her smile tight. What in Merlin's name is he, she thought. And how do I get him under control? High above them all, the enchanted ceiling showed storm clouds thinning, a patch of clear sky opening. Far away, in a cold, hidden place, Voldemort also listened. Not with ears, with something else. What are you, little thing? He wondered as the strange presence brushed his awareness again, just for a moment. Not a wizard, not a beast. Strong. Too strong. He smiled without humor. We'll see how long you last. The attack came a week later. Harry had almost started to relax. Almost. Classes had nodded into their usual busy rhythm. Between Umbridge's useless defense against the dark arts lessons, homework, Quidditch practice, and secret DA meetings, he barely had time to think. But Master Yoda was everywhere. The first time Harry passed him in the corridor, the old Jedi was standing in front of a staircase that had frozen halfway, one end floating in midair. A group of students stood on the top step, clinging to the banister. See? Yoda said, tapping the stone with his stick. Understand the castle, you must. Its moods, its paths. Fall, you will not. If trust it, you do. The staircase shuddered. Slowly, it extended again, connecting to the landing with a solid thump. The student stumbled forward, laughing with shaky relief. Or, Yoda added calmly, learn to catch yourselves, you can. He raised his hand. A small stack of books that had fallen now floated back into a student's arms. The students gaped. Then they started whispering. Harry watched from the corner, Hermione at his side. That wasn't a spell, she said under her breath. He didn't say anything. No wand movements, nothing from his robes. That was something else. Maybe he's just so good at silent magic you can't see it, Ron suggested. Hermione frowned. That's not how magic works here, Ron. Harry stepped away from them and approached. Excuse me, he said. Master Yoda? Yoda turned slowly, as if he had known Harry was there all along. His eyes narrowed. Harry Potter. Harry felt a strange pressure in his chest. Not painful, just noticed. Like someone had turned the air around him into gentle hands, taking a careful look at his heart. You know my name, Harry said. Famous you are, Yoda said simply. But more than a name, I see. Scar, wound, bond to darkness. Harry's hand rose to his scar without thinking. You mean him? Harry said quietly. Him, Yoda agreed. Share, you and he do, a thread. Use it, he will, to hurt you. Use it, you can, to foil him. Harry blinked. Use it. Not yet, Yoda added. Ready, you are not. Calm, first, you must find. Or the darkness it will use. Harry had expected reassurances, or orders, or Dumbledore-style half-truths. Not this simple, blunt answer. He wasn't sure if he liked it. Can you teach us? He asked before he could stop himself. Me. My friends. There are things Dumbledore's not telling us yet. But we know Voldemort's back. We know there's a war coming. We're trying to be ready. But Umbridge, he stopped. He didn't want to sound like he was whining about a teacher. But Yoda had already heard enough. Yoda said. A place, there is, that changes to what you need. Yes? A room. Hidden. Harry stared. The room of requirement, Hermione whispered behind him, eyes wide. How do you feel? I can. It's shifting, Yoda said. Use it, we will. To teach, to learn. But quietly. Harry's heart sped up. Tonight? He asked. Tonight, Yoda agreed. Bring you must. Those who truly wish to stand. Not for glory, for others. Harry nodded. We will. That night, in the room of requirement, everything changed. The door appeared on the blank stretch of wall exactly when Harry needed it. He paced past 3 times, thinking, I need a place to train with Yoda, a safe place to learn. When the handle appeared, his hand shook slightly. Inside, the room did not look like a normal classroom. The stone floor was covered with soft mats. Candles floated in the air, steady and bright. Simple wooden blocks and stones sat on low platforms. No dummies, no targets, no complicated training machines, just space, light, air. Members of the DA trickled in, whispering and staring. Blimey, Dean muttered. This is different. Where are the chairs? Lavender asked. As if on cue, one lonely chair sat in the corner, far too big for Yoda. He stood beside it with his hands clasped behind his back, robe pooling on the mat. Sit, Yoda said, nodding to the students. Floor, it is today. They sat in a rough circle. Wands, put away, Yoda said next. Several people hesitated. You sure? Seamus asked. Last time, someone told us to put away our wands. It was Umbridge, and we learned absolutely. Do as he says, Hermione whispered. They slid their wands into pockets and robes. Yoda looked around at the young faces. Fight, you will, he said. Some sooner than others. Already some have fought. No fear, you do. No one argued. Magic, strong it is in you, Yoda went on. But wands, these are tools. Easy it is to trust the tool more than the hand, more than the heart. He tapped his chest. Here, he said, starts every spell, every choice. Calm, you must learn. Focus. Feel the room, hear breaths, hear your own. Feel, through the floor, each other. It sounded simple. It was not. For the next half hour, Yoda had them sit, eyes closed, listening. At first, nothing, Neville muttered later. Just my own thoughts shouting at me. But slowly, some began to feel something. Harry felt Hermione's steady presence on one side, Ron's restless tapping on the other. He didn't hear them. He felt them, like warm, small flames nearby. Good, Yoda said. Now, the stones. He stepped back. The simple stones on the low platforms seemed to grow heavier just by existing. Lift. Try, Yoda said, without wands. Groans filled the room. More than one person muttered that this was impossible. Thought, that is, Yoda said calmly. Try, you must. Fail, you may. Learn, you will. Harry stared at the nearest stone until his eyes hurt. He listened to his own breathing. He thought of the feeling between him and his friends, between him and the castle, the strange hum in his scar when Voldemort was near. He reached for that, not with his hand, with something else. The stone twitched. Did you see that? Ron yelped. Harry's heart leapt. It was a tiny movement, but it was a start. They didn't get much further before the night's lesson ended. Most stones didn't move at all. Some shook. One rolled off its platform. Everyone's legs were numb from sitting by the time Yoda dismissed them. Tomorrow, he said. Feel again you will. Stronger it will be. But remember, calm first. Teenagers with power and no calm. His ears wiggled. Dangerous, that is. There was laughter. It broke the tension and the fear. Harry went to bed that night with sore legs and a buzzing mind. He dreamed of stones floating in the air and a small, green figure standing in front of a storm. The next day, the storm came for real. It started with cold. Harry was walking back from the library when the hallway light dimmed. He wrapped his robes tighter. His breath came out as a faint mist. Harry? Ron said beside him. Is it me? Or is it freezing all of a sudden? Harry's stomach dropped. He knew this cold. Dementors, he whispered. Screams echoed from somewhere lower in the castle. The floor seemed to lurch. He saw students rush past windows, faces pale. Then the distant boom of spells hit his ears. Come on, Hermione shouted, already running toward the entrance hall. We have to get to the Great Hall, or help. Help, Harry said. We help? By the time they reached the doors, chaos had broken loose on the grounds. The sky outside was almost black, though the sun had not set. Dark shapes moved through the air, dozens of them, hundreds. They swooped and circled, leaving trails of cold. Dementors, a lot of them. Below, lights flashed as professors and aurors cast Patronus charms. Silver animals raced through the darkness, battling the swarming shadows. And beyond the Dementors, on the edge of the grounds, figures in black robes appeared with sharp cracks of apparition. Death Eaters. Harry felt the horror rise in his chest. This isn't random, Hermione said, voice tight. This is an attack. On the school, Ron said, face white. On us, Harry thought. On him. Potter, Professor McGonagall shouted, appearing at their side. Her tartan robe flapped in the unnatural wind. You three, inside, now. Get the younger students to safety. The Great Hall is being warded as a shelter. Go. Harry opened his mouth to argue. Now, Potter, she snapped. The doors shook suddenly as something slammed into them from the outside. Frost crawled up the wood. Right, Harry said. We'll get them inside." They turned. The entrance hall was full of students already, shouting and milling. Prefects tried to herd them toward the great hall, which glowed with fresh wards. Flitwick stood by the door, wand flicking so fast his hand blurred. "Patronuses!" someone cried. "We're going to need patronuses." "Form lines!" Hermione yelled. "Younger students first! Everyone keep moving!" Harry caught Colin Creevey, who was staring in terror at the door. "Colin, listen," Harry said. "You're going into the Great Hall. Stay with your brother. Tell everyone to stay away from the walls. Understand?" Colin nodded frantically. Harry pushed through the crowd, helping drag a first-year who had fallen. The cold thickened around them, even inside. He could hear screaming outside now. And something else. A different sound, one he didn't recognize. A high, sharp hum. A flare of green light that was not Avada Kedavra flashed through the crack at the edge of the door. Harry's heart skipped. "That's him," he thought. "That has to be him." He shoved the last group of students toward the Great Hall. "Go," he shouted. "We'll be right behind you." "Harry," Hermione began. He met her eyes. "I have to see," he said. "I have to help. You know I do." She bit her lip. "I'm coming with you," she said. "Me too," Ron added. "Someone's got to stop you doing anything stupid." McGonagall would have been furious if she'd heard them, but she was already outside dueling. The three of them pushed back to the entrance doors. Flitwick glanced at them once, saw the looks on their faces, and didn't waste time arguing. "If you insist on being foolish," he said briskly, "at least stay behind cover and use proper shields. And for Merlin's sake, Potter, Patronus first." Then he blasted the doors open with a wave of his wand. The cold hit them like a wall. Harry staggered but kept his footing. The grounds of Hogwarts had become a battlefield. Silver Patronuses rushed like living light across the grass. McGonagall's cat, Lupin's great wolf. Harry's chest ached at the memory. An enormous shining boar from someone Harry didn't know, all darting and snapping at the Dementors swirling above. The Dementors were everywhere, their hooded faces turned toward the castle, drawn to the fear inside. Beyond them, black-robed figures sent curses streaking through the air. Some tried to aim at the castle, others targeted the protectors in the field. Aurors, members of the Order of the Phoenix, even Hagrid, swinging a massive club at Dementors that got too close to the ground. In the middle of it all, something small moved like a green spark. Harry saw him then. Yoda leapt. Not like a man, like something weightless. He sprang from the ground to a low stone wall, then to the back of a Dementor that had swooped too low, his robe flaring. A green blade of light shot out from the hilt in his hands with a sharp snap. Hiss. Harry's breath caught. The weapon Yoda held was not a wand. It was a sword made of light itself. It cut through the cold air with ease. The Dementor shrieked without a mouth. Yoda twisted, the blade flashing. The shadow split apart, dissolving into shreds of darkness. "What is that?" Ron yelled over the wind. "What is he using?" "A weapon," Hermione breathed. "Made of light? That's impossible." Harry could not look away. Yoda moved again. He was a blur, faster than any wizard. He flipped over a cluster of Death Eaters who tried to curse him, their green spells slicing only empty air. As he passed, he flicked his free hand. Wands flew out of their hands as if ripped by invisible claws. "Protego!" Harry shouted, as a stray curse streaked toward them from the edge of the field. It smashed into his shield and scattered. "Patronus! Harry!" Hermione shouted. "Now!" The cold was deeper now. Voices whispered in his ears. His mother's scream, his father's shout, Voldemort's high, cruel laugh. Harry raised his wand with shaking fingers. "Expecto Patronum," he cried. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he felt it. The warmth Yoda had tried to teach him. the calm under the fear. He thought of his friends beside him, of the students inside the castle, of the way the stones had trembled in the room of requirement. Silver light burst from his wand. Prongs galloped forth across the grass, antlers gleaming. Other Patronuses joined his. The DA members who had trained with him in secret pushed through the door behind them, faces pale but determined. "Expecto Patronum!" Neville shouted, and a silver toad bounced after Harry's stag. The Dementors shrank back from the wall of light. Yoda seemed to feel it too. In the middle of the field, he paused on a rock, balancing with one hand on his lightsaber and the other raised. His eyes closed. For just a second, everyone near him felt it. Calm. It rolled out from him like a warm wind, steady and quiet. Their fear didn't vanish, but it stopped controlling them. Hands steadied. Voices grew stronger. "Keep casting," Hermione yelled. "Form a line! Don't let them near the doors!" Harry stood at the front with her and Ron, backs to the castle, Patronuses racing across the field. From somewhere on the far edge, a voice like ice cut through the din. "Push forward!" a Death Eater shouted. "The Dark Lord wants the boy, and the creature!" Spells flashed brighter. The Death Eaters surged. One raised his wand and shouted, "Avada Kedavra!" The green curse shot toward a group of younger students who had not made it inside yet. Yoda moved. He didn't try to block the curse. He knew no shield could stop it. Instead, he leapt into its path, felt its line, and pushed. The force surged through him. The killing curse twisted in midair, veering away at the last instant, smashing instead into an empty stretch of ground with a blast of dirt. The Death Eater stared, mask tilted. "What?" Yoda landed in front of him, eyes hard now. "Kill, that spell does," Yoda said quietly. "Once, trust in such power, I did. Long ago. No more." He flicked his hand. The Death Eater flew backward, slamming into a tree and crumpling. Another raised his wand. Yoda's lightsaber hummed. The green blade sliced the wand in two with one precise stroke. Harry felt something else then, a sharp stab in his scar. His vision blurred. For a second, he was not on the Hogwarts grounds. He was looking through other eyes, cold and red. He saw a small green figure moving in the distance, cutting through shadows. The feeling that came with the sight was not fear exactly. It was interest. "So, that is you," Voldemort thought slowly, watching through the eyes of a far-off snake and the faint link through Harry's scar. The little one with the strange light. His mind reached out, testing. Yoda stiffened. He felt the gaze, not the simple panic of a Dementor, not the blunt fear of a Death Eater. Something deeper. He turned his head toward the feeling. He could not see Voldemort, but he could feel the hook in Harry's mind, the ugly tether between them. Yoda closed his eyes just for a heartbeat. He did not lash out. He did not send anger. He sent presence. Calm, steady, ancient. Across the link, Voldemort flinched. What? For a second, Harry saw Yoda's face in his mind, lit by the green glow of his weapon. Those yellow eyes did not look at him. They looked past him. At Voldemort. Then the connection snapped. Harry staggered, gasping. "Harry!" Hermione grabbed his arm. "Are you all right?" "Yeah," he panted. "Yeah, just, he's watching. He saw him. He saw Yoda." Ron swore under his breath. On the field, the battle raged on. The Dementors, pressed by the wave of Patronuses and the combined strength of Yoda's calm, began to peel away. Some fled entirely, vanishing into the dark clouds. The Death Eaters, seeing the tide turn, started to retreat. "Fall back!" one shouted. "We're not ready! Go!" Yoda watched them disapparate with cracks of sound, vanishing into the cold air. He did not chase them. He extinguished his lightsaber. The blade vanished with a hiss. Silence crept back slowly, broken by groans, sobs, and the crackle of fading magic. The grounds were scarred. Grass burned. Patches of earth were blasted into craters. A few figures lay still on the ground, covered in cloaks. But the castle still stood. The students still stood. Harry leaned on his wand, breathing hard. His Patronus had faded, but the warmth of it lingered. He looked at Yoda. The little Jedi stood in the middle of the field, cloak torn, ears dripping with rain. His chest rose and fell a little faster than usual, but his eyes were calm. Around him, witches and wizards stared. "What in Merlin's name is he?" one Auror whispered. "Whatever he is," another replied. "He's on our side." Behind them, Umbridge stood in the entrance hall, lips thin, eyes bright with anger and fear. He used magic, she thought. Unregistered magic. Dangerous magic. The minister will hear of this. Dumbledore stepped out onto the steps beside her, his eyes sweeping the battlefield. He took in the Dementors retreating, the Death Eaters gone, the students shaken but alive, and Yoda, who had turned the whole shape of the fight. Dumbledore's face was grave. This changes everything, he thought. Yoda turned his head slightly, as if he had heard that thought. He met Dumbledore's gaze. "We live," Yoda said simply. "Today." Dumbledore nodded. "Yes," he said softly. "Today." Harry looked between them, chest still pounding. He knew, with a deep certainty, that nothing at Hogwarts would ever be the same again. The Daily Prophet arrived 2 days after the attack. Owls swooped through the open windows of the Great Hall as usual, but the mood was not usual at all. The air felt tight. Conversation was low and nervous. Harry watched as a barn owl dropped the Prophet onto the Gryffindor table. The front page was already visible. A moving picture showed Yoda in the middle of the Hogwarts grounds, lightsaber blazing, Dementors swirling around him. Silver Patronuses streaked past. The headline screamed across the top. "Mystery Warlord or New Threat. Creature of unknown origin. Wields unregistered weapon at Hogwarts." Ginny snatched up the paper. "Oh, that's fair," she said sharply. "He saves us from a Dementor swarm, so obviously he must be a threat." Ron leaned over her shoulder. "They make it sound like he attacked the school." Hermione made a frustrated noise and reached for the Prophet. "Listen to this," she read. "Sources within the Ministry confirmed that an unclassified non-human entity, possibly a foreign dark creature, has been given free access to Hogwarts grounds and students by Headmaster Dumbledore without proper oversight." She lowered the paper and glared at Umbridge, who sat at the staff table, reading her own copy with a smug little smile. "Of course," Hermione muttered. "Anonymous Ministry sources. I wonder who those could be." Harry's eyes slid to the top table, too. Yoda sat beside Dumbledore, trying to spread jam on toast. The butter knife was almost as long as his hand. The plate towered over him like a small hill. He had to stand on his lowered chair to reach anything. He didn't look at the papers. He didn't have to. He could feel the shift in the room, the way some students watched him with awe, others with fear, a few with anger. Dumbledore's copy of the Prophet lay folded beside his plate. His expression was calm, but the lines at the corners of his eyes were deeper than usual. Umbridge suddenly stood. "May I have your attention, students?" she called, her voice sickly sweet and magically amplified. The chatter died down. "As you will have seen," she said, holding up her paper, "recent events have raised concerns about foreign influences at this school. I wish to reassure you that the Ministry of Magic is taking steps to ensure your safety. New educational decrees will be posted today, including clear rules about contact with unregistered creatures and unsanctioned training clubs." Her eyes flicked to Harry for just a moment. He felt his stomach twist. "Any student," Umbridge went on, "who feels uncomfortable around certain individuals may come to me at once. Together, we will keep Hogwarts safe. She sat down with a small, satisfied nod. Harry stared at his porridge without tasting it. Safe, he thought. Right. Beside Dumbledore, Yoda put his butter knife down. Trouble she will bring, he said quietly. Dumbledore's eyes did not leave the hall. She already has, he answered. I do not trust him. Snape's voice was low, but it carried clearly in the quiet of Dumbledore's office. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was a heavy gray, pressing down over the castle. Fawkes dozed on his perch, his bright feathers dimmed slightly in the cool light. Yoda stood near the open window, hands tucked in his sleeves. The sill came up almost to his chest. He had to tilt his head back to look out. Wise, that is, Yoda said. Trust, given too easily, danger it brings. Snape's eyes narrowed. I am not praising you, he said. I am stating a fact. You are an unknown with more raw power than anyone I have seen. You can move objects without a wand. You block legilimency without effort. You deflect killing curses. You are training students in techniques we do not understand. Forgive me if I consider that a security concern. Forgiven you are, Yoda replied, not unkindly. Snape's jaw clenched. Dumbledore spread his hands. Severus, he said, we would be fools not to plan for every possible danger, including the danger that our guest may not always be on our side. Yoda murmured. Snape turned to Dumbledore. Then you agree we must prepare contingencies, he said. Wards, countermeasures, potions. Something that can at least slow him if he decides to turn those abilities against us. Not that I imagine it would work for long. Prepare, you should, Yoda said before Dumbledore could answer. Always the wise prepare. More dangerous than fear, overconfidence is. Snape blinked. You are suggesting, he said slowly, that we should work on ways to stop you? Yoda nodded. Once, a Jedi I trained, he said. Strong he was. Proud. Thought I did, that he would never fall. Yet fall, he did. Became a monster, he did. Millions, he killed. Because trust in his goodness, we did. No chains, no plans. For what if wrong we were? Snape felt a cold shiver that had nothing to do with Dementors. You speak, he said carefully, of personal experience. Yoda's eyes were very old then. Yes, he said simply. Dumbledore folded his fingers together. Severus, he said, you have been developing experimental potions. Some that disrupt spells, others that slow reactions. Do you believe any of them could affect the Force? Snape's mouth twisted. I don't know what this Force truly is, he said. But if it runs through the body at all, then perhaps. I can try combinations that dull the mind and the nerves without killing the subject. Yoda inclined his head. Test, we can, he said. On me. Snape stared. You would let me poison you, he said. Poison, no, Yoda replied. Slow, weaken, then recover. Learn, we will, what works. And if ever darkness in me rises, use, you can. Snape shot a look at Dumbledore. This is madness, he said quietly. Is it? Dumbledore asked. Or is it the first time someone with power has truly accepted that they may someday be the danger? They held each other's eyes for a long moment. Snape looked away first. Very well, he muttered. I will see what I can brew. He swept out, cloak billowing. The door closed behind him. Yoda turned back to the window. The Quidditch pitch lay far below, empty for now. Trust you do, your spy, he said. With my life, Dumbledore said calmly, and with Harry's. Perhaps one day with yours as well. Perhaps, Yoda echoed. He watched a few students cross the courtyard, books under arms, laughter faint in the air. Much to lose you all have, he murmured. Much to fight for. Dumbledore poured tea for them both. "And what of you, my friend?" he asked gently. "What do you have left to lose?" Yoda did not answer at once. "When the Jedi fell," he said finally, "lost, I thought, all I had. My order, my students, my war. In exile, learn it I did, that more dangerous than loss is. Purpose lost. When no war to fight, no students to teach. Empty, I felt. Here, now, chance I have. To teach again, to guide again. Fear, I do, that war again, I will lead." Dumbledore looked at him over the rim of his cup. "We cannot erase your past," he said. "Nor mine, nor Severus's, nor Tom Riddle's. We can only choose what to do with what remains. You may teach without leading armies. That may be what we need most." Yoda's ears drooped slightly. "Hard? That path is," he said. "Yes," Dumbledore agreed. "The right ones usually are." Harry didn't know about the talk in Dumbledore's office. He only knew that suddenly the rules felt tighter. By afternoon, new educational decrees were nailed to the corridor walls. Hermione read one out loud as they passed. All student organizations, societies, teams, groups, and clubs are henceforth disbanded and may reform only with the approval of the High Inquisitor, she said. "That's Umbridge." "Goodbye, DA," Ron muttered. "Temporarily," Hermione hissed. "We'll work around it." Another decree announced restrictions on contact with non-human entities. Any student found alone with classified creatures without a staff member would face punishment. Harry stared at the parchment. "This is about Hagrid," he said. And Yoda." Hermione's eyes flashed. "She's trying to cut him off from us," she said. "From everyone." That afternoon, Umbridge summoned Yoda to her office. Harry, walking past on his way to Charms, heard enough through the door to understand the tone. "I am sure you understand, Master Yoda," Umbridge said, in a voice full of sugar and knives, "that we must protect our children from unsuitable influences. Until your status is properly reviewed by the Ministry, you are not to interact with students outside of supervised classes. Any training sessions you have been giving, if such things exist, must stop at once." Yoda's answer drifted under the door. "Children, you call them," he said. "Yet into war, thrown they are. Without training, without the truth. Safe, you say you keep them. Blind, you make them." Harry clenched his fists. He wanted to burst in, shout at Umbridge, defend Yoda. He forced himself to keep walking. He could not afford another week of detention. Not now. Inside, Umbridge's sweet tone turned sharp. "You are not from this world," she said. "You do not understand our laws, our way of doing things. You will obey, or you will be removed." "By force, try, you may," Yoda replied. "Many in your world I have seen. Seeking control. Fear drives them. Always, the end is the same." The quill scratched on Umbridge's desk. "You are on very thin ice, my little friend," she whispered. "Very thin." Harry did not hear what came next. Flitwick's classroom door opened ahead, and he was swept into a flurry of charms practice. But the feeling stayed with him all day. Something was shifting. And not just in the rules. Voldemort's hideout was cold and dry. He had chosen an old, forgotten manor this time. The walls were lined with cracked paintings, whose eyes had long ago stopped moving. Dust lay thick on the floor. The air tasted of old spells and stale pain. Voldemort sat in a high-backed chair, pale fingers drumming lightly on the arm. Lucius Malfoy knelt at his feet, mask removed, blonde hair damp with sweat. "You failed," Voldemort said softly. "We did not expect," Lucius began. Voldemort's hand snapped up. "Do not insult me with excuses," he hissed. Lucius flinched. "You did not expect the Dementors to flee," Voldemort went on. "You did not expect Dumbledore's people to fight so well. You did not expect the boy to cast a Patronus so strong, but most of all, you did not expect him. The memory of the little green figure burned in Voldemort's mind. Fast, calm, that weapon of light, that strange push that had twisted his killing curse aside. "What is he, Lucius?" Voldemort whispered. "You have contacts, money, you know things. What is that creature?" Lucius shook his head. "My lord, we don't know," he said. "He's not in any book I have seen. Not goblin, not elf, not centaur. The Ministry is calling him a non-human entity of unknown class." Voldemort's red eyes narrowed. "Such useful language," he said. "Unknown, unclassified, uncontrolled." He leaned back, thinking. "He is not a wizard," Voldemort said slowly. "His power does not move like ours. He does not speak words. He does not use wand movements. Yet he can influence matter, minds, and curses. That makes him dangerous and interesting." Lucius swallowed. "Perhaps," he ventured, "your lordship could remove him. Use the boy's connection to lure him into a trap, or find where he came from and close it." Voldemort's mouth curled. "Perhaps," he said. "Or perhaps I can do something better." Lucius dared to look up. "My lord?" Voldemort rose from the chair. "He has been pulled here by something," Voldemort said. He used that word. Wound. There is a scar in this world's magic, something deep, old. The thing that pulled him may be of great use to me. He paced slowly. "Dumbledore plays with simple toys," he said. "Horcruxes, prophecies, schoolboy armies. I will go deeper. The Department of Mysteries holds many secrets. Death, time, thought. They study the roots of magic itself. If there is a tear between worlds, they will have noticed it. They may even be trying to use it." Lucius's eyes widened. "My lord," he whispered. "You cannot mean." "Oh, but I do," Voldemort said. "With the right push, my dear unspeakables will show me everything. And if this force touches our magic, I will learn how to twist it." He smirked. "Besides," he added, "it will draw the boy and the creature. They cannot resist a trap that looks like a chance to stop me." Lucius bowed his head. Voldemort's gaze turned inward again. In his mind, he saw Harry's face twisted in pain, the scar bright red. He saw Yoda's calm eyes looking back along the link. "You resist, little star beast," Voldemort whispered, "but everything that comes here becomes mine. Sooner or later." Yoda knew something was wrong with the castle before anyone else. He stood alone in a quiet corridor one evening, long after curfew. Students snored behind heavy wooden doors. Portraits dozed in their frames, mumbling in their sleep. The castle often felt like this at night, soft, low, almost peaceful. Tonight it felt off. He knelt and pressed his hand to the floor. For a long time, he just listened. Not with his ears, with something deeper. The force here had always been bright and noisy, full of teenage emotions and old stones humming with magic. Now, he felt a faint twist beneath it, like a rope pulled too tight somewhere far away. Lines. He could feel them. Threads of power running under the halls, through the walls, down into the earth. They crossed under the Great Hall. They ran out toward the Forbidden Forest. They reached, faintly, toward London. Something was plucking those threads, testing them, pulling. "A note he is trying to play," Yoda murmured, eyes closed. "On an instrument he doesn't understand." Light footsteps approached. "Master Yoda?" a quiet voice asked. "Are you talking to the floor?" He opened his eyes. Luna Lovegood stood a few feet away, barefoot on the cold stone, her shoes dangling from one hand. Her wand was tucked behind her ear like a quill. Her blonde hair floated around her face. Listening, I am, Yoda said. To the castle. To what lies beneath. Luna tilted her head. Oh, she said simply. Sometimes I listen too. The walls mutter when the staircases are about to move. The forest sings when it's angry. Yoda's ears perked. Angry, it is now, he said. Luna nodded. The centaurs are restless, she said. They keep shooting arrows at anyone who comes near. Even Hagrid. The stars must be shouting at them. She frowned slightly. Also, she added, my toes feel strange when I walk this way now. She wriggled her bare toes on the stone. Strange, how? Yoda asked. Like the floor is pulling, she said. Not hard, just a tugging, like it wants me to go somewhere. Yoda stood. Show me, he said. Luna smiled faintly, as if she had been waiting for him to say that. She walked down the corridor, still barefoot, following some invisible map only she could feel. Yoda padded beside her. They turned left, then right, then down a narrow staircase Harry had never used. The torches flickered as they passed. They came at last to a blank stretch of wall near the base of the castle. Luna stopped. Here, she said. My toes get very buzzy here. Yoda put his palm on the stone. The tugging grew stronger. He could feel the lines converging somewhere beyond the wall, crossing like rivers, the same way ley lines converged on ancient temples in his own galaxy. Hidden something is, he said. He stepped back and closed his eyes. Need, you must. A room that shows what lies beneath, he murmured. He focused. The castle listened. Slowly, a door melted into existence on the blank wall. Not the room of requirement door, a different one. Old, iron-bound. Luna's eyes widened. Oh, she said. That's new. Yoda pushed. The door creaked open. Cool air flowed out, smelling of dust and stone and old magic. Come, Yoda said. He stepped through without fear. After a moment, Luna followed. The chamber beyond was low and wide. Carvings covered the walls and floor. Ancient runes and symbols, older than Hogwarts itself, glowed faintly. Lines of light ran through them, crossing and weaving in complex patterns. In the center, a raised round platform pulsed softly. Yoda stepped onto it. The lines brightened. Images flickered faintly in the air. The castle, the forest, a faint line running off toward a cluster of tall buildings far away. London. Magical lines, Luna whispered. I knew they were real. Daddy always said the ministry was hiding them. Hide, they cannot, Yoda said. Twist, someone is trying to, feel you not? Luna closed her eyes. Her face grew serious. Yes, she said. Something sharp, like a hook, pulling from far away. She opened her eyes again. It doesn't belong here, she added, like a nargle at a wedding. Yoda almost smiled. From your dark lord, this pull comes, he said, from a place deep under your ministry, seeking to grab these lines, to turn them, to open wide the wound between worlds. Luna considered that. That sounds bad, she said. Very bad, Yoda agreed. Footsteps pounded in the corridor outside. Harry's voice called, Master Yoda? Luna? He and Neville appeared at the door a second later, both out of breath. We've been looking everywhere for you, Neville gasped. The room of requirement moved, then it vanished. Hermione thought you might be. He stopped, eyes going wide as he saw the glowing lines. Whoa, he breathed. Harry stepped in slowly. What is this place? He asked. Heart of the castle, Yoda said. Where magic lines meet. Where pulled I was, also, through the wound. Harry moved to the edge of the platform. He could feel it. A faint humming under his shoes. A pull in his scar. It made his stomach twist. It feels wrong, he whispered. Wrong it is becoming, Yoda said. Once, this place was only a crossroads. Now, a doorway. Someone is trying to make it. Between here and elsewhere. For what purpose, we know. Harry didn't need to ask. Voldemort. So we stop him, Harry said. Yoda's ears sank. Simple, that sounds, he said. Hard, it will be. For that, need more than power. Need understanding of this world's magic, of the force of how they touch. He looked at the three students. Help, you will, he said. If willing, you are. Neville swallowed. I'm not very good at understanding big magic things, he said. But I can try. You faced Death Eaters, Yoda said. Stood, you did, when others ran. Good enough, that is. Luna nodded dreamily. I always wanted to see the inside of the world, she said. Not just the outside bits. I'm in. Harry didn't even hesitate. Tell us what to do, he said. Yoda looked at them, his eyes softening. First, he said, train we must. To feel, not just to fight. To listen. To bend. For if twist these lines, your Dark Lord can. Twist them back, perhaps we can. He stepped off the platform. Tomorrow, he said, in the room. A new lesson. For a smaller group. They left the chamber as quietly as they had entered. The door faded behind them, leaving only blank stone. But the lines underneath still hummed, strained, waiting. It started with balance drills. Can't we learn something exciting just once? Ron groaned a day later, standing on one leg on a mat, arms spread, eyes closed. If fall, you do. Exciting it will be, Yoda said. The smaller group, Harry, Hermione, Ron, Neville, Ginny, and Luna, stood in a circle in the room of requirement. The room had adjusted itself again. No desks, no chairs, not even stones this time. Just a slightly uneven floor and a lot of space. Understand your own body. First you must, Yoda said. Then the space around. Then the lines under your feet. Ginny teetered and put her other foot down with a curse. This is worse than Quidditch practice, she muttered. Think of it as Quidditch without a broom, Hermione said through gritted teeth, trying not to fall. Quidditch without a broom is called falling to your death, Hermione, Ron complained. Harry tried to ignore them. He focused on his breathing. The room. The faint hum under the floor that he now knew was real. When Yoda finally let them put both feet down, their legs shook. Better, Yoda said. Now, sit. Feel. They dropped to the mats with sighs of relief. Yoda sat too, cross-legged, barely taking up any space at all. Close your eyes, he said. Feel each other. The room, the castle below. Imagine lines, threads, crossing. Where meet, feel a pull. They had done versions of this before. It was easier now. Harry felt his friends around him. Hermione's bright, sharp focus. Ron's restless warmth. Neville's nervous, steady core. Ginny's fierce spark. Luna's odd, calm cloud. He reached deeper. He felt the faint lines under the floor, like veins under skin. He felt them crossing somewhere below. He also felt, faintly, something else. A hook, a cold pull. Far away but connected. He flinched. Feel him, you do, Yoda said quietly. Your Dark Lord, pulling on the same threads. Yes, Harry whispered. Do not pull back, Yoda said. Not now, not yet. Only watch. Learn how his tug feels, how yours feels. Difference there must be. Harry tried. He imagined the lines as ropes. Voldemort's pull felt sharp and greedy, always trying to tighten, to drag toward him. Harry's own presence, when he stopped panicking and just noticed, felt different. It did not pull. It anchored, like a knot. He focused on that. The feeling steadied. After a while, Yoda told them to open their eyes. Next step, he said. Go, we must, to where these lines rise up. They looked at him. You mean back to that chamber? Neville asked. Yes, Yoda said, and beyond, to the forest. For there, wild, the lines are. Twisted, they are being. See, you must. Hermione bit her lip. But the Forbidden Forest is, well, forbidden, she said. Strictly speaking, said a voice from the door, students are not allowed there at all. They all jerked around. Professor McGonagall stood in the doorway, arms folded, lips pressed thin. Harry's heart dropped. Professor, he began. McGonagall held up a hand. Save it, Potter, she said. Her eyes moved to Yoda. Master Yoda, may I speak with you? She stepped into the room, letting the door close behind her. For the record, she said to the students, I am fully aware that you have been running an illegal defense club, that you were on the front line during the attack, and that you are now apparently being trained by a visiting alien wizard in some kind of line-listening magic. Ron opened his mouth to argue. Do not, she said sharply. Just because I am not dragging you to Umbridge this instant does not mean I approve. She turned back to Yoda. Albus tells me you have found something under the castle, she said. Something tied to the Force, and to you-know-who. True, that is, Yoda said. And now you wish to take my students, McGonagall went on, into the Forbidden Forest, in the middle of a war, where there are centaurs, acromantulas, and goodness knows what else. To feel wild lines. Yoda tilted his head. Yes, he said. McGonagall closed her eyes for a brief moment. When I was young, she said, I thought teaching would be a quiet job. Ginny made a small, choking sound that might have been a laugh. McGonagall opened her eyes again. Very well, she said. You are not going alone. Harry blinked. Professor? He asked. McGonagall's gaze was stern, but there was a spark in it. If there is something in my forest that can harm this school, she said, I will see it with my own eyes. And if I cannot stop you fools from charging into danger, I will at least be there to keep you alive. Yoda bowed his head. Grateful we are, he said. McGonagall sniffed. Of course you are, she said. Now, you will all meet us at the edge of the forest at dusk. Cloaks, wands, no complaints. And if you so much as step on a twig without my say-so, Mr. Weasley, I will have you polishing trophies until you forget what a forest is. Understood? Yes, Professor, Ron said meekly. The Forbidden Forest at dusk was a maze of shadows and trunks. The last of the light filtered through the branches, turning the air a dim green-gray. The ground was soft with old leaves and roots that tried to trip them at every step. Harry walked near the front, wand lit, McGonagall at his side in her tartan cloak. Yoda padded ahead, moving so quietly he barely stirred the leaves. Behind them came Hermione, Ron, Neville, Ginny, and Luna. Fang had whined to be let out of his hut when Hagrid heard about the trip, and now lumbered along too, nose twitching, eyes wide. Stay close, McGonagall ordered. There are creatures here who would think nothing of snacking on a stray 11-year-old. Good thing we're not 11, Ron muttered. The forest felt different than usual. Harry had been here before, chased through by a hooded figure feeding on unicorns, rescued by a centaur, dragged by Aragog's children. The forest was always eerie. Tonight it felt tense. The air almost vibrated. Yoda stopped in a small clearing. Here, he said. Lines. Meet they do. From castle. From forest. From beyond. Harry felt it too. He closed his eyes and let his mind reach down. The lines hummed under the earth, crossing beneath his feet. One thread pulsed with the castle's bright warmth. Another was wild, tangled with trees and beasts. A third was thin and cold, stretching off toward the distance, toward London, toward the Department of Mysteries. Feels like a knot, Neville said quietly. A big knot. Choked, it is becoming, Yoda said. And when pulled too tight, what happens to a rope? It snaps, Ginny said. Or it cuts into what it's tied to, Luna added. Yoda nodded. "Look," he said softly. Shapes moved at the edge of the clearing. Centaurs stepped out from the trees, bows in hand. Their human faces were hard. Their horse bodies shifted restlessly. Firenze. Harry recognized one pale centaur. Firenze's blue eyes met his briefly, then moved to Yoda. "So it is you," Firenze said. "The Star Stranger." Another centaur snorted. "We warned you, Hagrid," he said. "The sky shouted that a falling star would bring war to our forest. Yet here he walks, in the heart of it." McGonagall stepped forward. "These students are under my protection," she said. "As is our guest. Lower your bows." The lead centaur, Bane, did not lower his bow. "Protection?" he said. "From what the stars have already shown? From what runs under your stone nest and twists the roots of our home? You cannot protect them from that which—" Yoda raised his small hand. "Angry your forest is," he said. "Understandable, that is. A wound, it feels. A hand, trying to force open deeper paths." "The hand of your war," Bane snapped. "The pattern is clear. First the Dark One returned. Then the sky screamed. Then you fell. The thread's not around you. Wherever you walk, battle comes." Yoda's ears drooped slightly. "True, that may be," he said. "But run from battle I will not. Heal I seek, not command." Firenze's gaze softened. "The stars do not only show doom," he said quietly. "They show choice. Paths that might be. When we look now, we see two shapes over Hogwarts. One small and bright. One long and dark. Both touch the same wound. Which one fills it is not fixed." He looked at Yoda. "Teach them well, Star Stranger," he said. "If you fail, the forest burns with the castle." He gestured with his bow. "We will watch," he said, "from the shadows." The centaurs melted back into the trees. Yoda moved to the center of the clearing. "Here," he said. "We begin." The lesson did not stay simple for long. At first, Yoda only had them feel. The lines, the trees, the buzz of life in small things. Insects under the bark, birds high above, centaurs at the edges. Then the forest began to fight back. A rustling grew in the underbrush. Eyes gleamed between roots. The acromantulas came not in a raging swarm, but in testing probe lines. Large spiders the size of cart horses crept toward the clearing, jaws clicking, hairy legs moving silently over the leaves. Ron made a horrible choking sound. "Oh no," he whispered. "Not again. Not spiders. Why is it always spiders?" "Fear. Feel I do," Yoda said. "That would be me," Ron said weakly. "Not only yours," Yoda said. "Their fear also. Pushed, they are, by something deeper. Not hunger alone drives them." A huge acromantula stopped at the edge of the clearing, its many eyes fixed on them. A thread of cold tugged beneath Harry's feet at the same time. "Voldemort," Harry said. "Yes," Yoda said. "Using their minds he is. Their fear, their hunger, twisting, to test us, to push the lines." "So, we fight?" Ginny asked, wand half raised. "Defend, we must," Yoda said. "But more than that. Push back, we must." On the rope he pulls. He stepped forward, tiny against the towering spider. He closed his eyes. His hand lifted. The acromantula jerked slightly. Harry felt it too. A tug on a different line. Not the cold hook. A warmer weight. The spider shuddered. It took a step back. Another. The cold tug under Harry's feet tightened. Voldemort pushing harder, perhaps sensing his beast slipping. Yoda did not force the spider. He did not make it run. He simply showed it. Another way. Safety away from the clearing. Food elsewhere. What? Deep dark that was not full of strange, calm light. The acromantula turned and fled into the trees. The others followed. Ron sagged with relief. Thank every wizard in history, he breathed. It worked. But the forest wasn't done. Boggarts crawled from hollow logs, drawn by fear. They twisted into different shapes as they neared. A dead Sirius for Harry, a burned family for Ginny, Professor McGonagall telling Hermione she had failed everything. They lurched forward, claws of worry reaching. "Ridiculous!" McGonagall snapped, wand flashing, turning her own boggart, Voldemort in a tartan skirt, into something silly for a moment. But there were many. Yoda looked at the students. "Now," he said, "lesson of fear." He moved among them, voice calm. "Harry," he said, "feel the fear. Name it. Let it pass through. Hold it. Do not. Cast, then." Harry stared at the boggart Sirius, his chest tight. He thought of the real Sirius, alive somewhere, waiting for him. He thought of Yoda's calm. He forced himself to breathe. "This is not real," he said through his teeth. "You are not real." He raised his wand. "Ridiculous!" The fake Sirius tripped over his own feet and landed in a pile of singing teacups. It wasn't very funny, but it broke something. Neville faced his boggart, Snape in his grandmother's clothes, with a trembling laugh. Ginny forced hers to turn into a blushing Draco, wearing a Weasley jumper. Luna's boggart did not change. It had taken the shape of her friends turning their backs on her, their faces blank, their voices saying, "We don't want you." She looked at them for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You are not them," she said. "They would never say that." She waved her wand. Ridiculous. The boggart Luna was suddenly surrounded by dancing rack spurts, tangling in its fake hair until it popped like a soap bubble. The boggarts, robbed of power, cracked and vanished one by one. Through it all, Yoda and McGonagall stood steady, ready to step in if anyone faltered too far. But the students held. The forest calmed slightly. The cold tug under their feet loosened, just a little. "Better," Yoda said. Harry was sweating, heart pounding, but he felt lighter. He had looked his worst fear in the face again and not crumpled. "Was that him too?" Hermione asked, wiping her eyes. "Using boggarts?" "No," Yoda said. "Only using what already here is, he was. Pushing, amplifying fear. The more fear, the easier his pull. But now, less." They weren't done. A final test waited at the center of the clearing. The lines under the platform flared. A shape rose from them. Not flesh, not true ghost. A twisted, half-formed figure made of shadow and memory, wearing different faces at once. Harry's, Voldemort's, Yoda's, Dumbledore's. Horcrux energy, drawn to the knot, trying to form a body. It spoke in many voices at once. "You can't win," it whispered. "You will. Fail them again. You always fail. They will die. You will watch." Harry staggered. "No," he said, but his voice shook. Yoda stepped beside him. "Not alone, you are," he said. "Together, we stand. Together, we choose what to be." He looked at the others. "Light now," he said. They knew what he meant. "Expecto Patronum," Harry cried. Prongs burst forth. "Expecto Patronum!" Hermione's otter, Ron's dog, Ginny's horse, Neville's toad, Luna's hare, McGonagall's cat. They all charged at the shadow, not tearing at it, but surrounding it with bright, steady light. The phantom writhed. Its voices stuttered. Yoda closed his eyes and reached out with the force. He did not attack. He held. He wrapped the wild Horcrux energy in his own calm, not to claim it, but to stop it from spilling. "Pieces you are," he said softly, "of a broken soul. Pain you hold. Anger. Fear. Not yours, they are. Return. They must. To where belong, they do. Or fade, they will, into nothing." The shadow screamed silently. Then it cracked like glass. It shattered into 1,000 small sparks that sank back into the earth, leaving the platform glowing faintly, but more evenly. The cold tug eased even more. Harry sagged with relief. "Did we fix it?" he asked. "Not fixed," Yoda said. "But helped we have. Less twisted, the lines are now. But as long as broken pieces remain, pull, your Dark Lord still can." McGonagall looked around the clearing. The forest was quiet. No spiders moved. The centaurs watched from far off, their expressions unreadable. "You have done something here," she said slowly. "Something I do not entirely understand. But it feels right. Lighter." Yoda nodded. "A first step," he said. "Only that." As they walked back toward the castle, the air felt a little less heavy. But Harry knew this was just a side battle. The real war had not even reached its loudest part. He glanced at Yoda, who moved steadily at the front, his small form very sure. The universe, Harry thought, had handed them a strange new ally. One who could calm a forest, twist a killing curse, and make staircases behave. And now Voldemort knew that too. Far away, under London, deep in the Department of Mysteries, a black-robed unspeakable paused at a humming archway. The veil rippled. A faint green echo brushed the air. The unspeakable shivered. Something was changing in the magic at the heart of the Ministry. Something that would soon drag them all into a different kind of fight. Weeks passed. The forest still watched the castle. The castle still groaned and shifted. The war still moved in the shadows. But Hogwarts had changed. You could see it at breakfast, in small ways. Some students now sat for a full minute, eyes closed, before lifting their forks. They breathed slow and deep, like Yoda had taught. Some did it as a joke. Some did it because it helped. You could see it in the way Dumbledore's army walked through the halls, wands at their sides. Yes. But also a little more aware of each other, of the space around them, of the strange, soft buzz under the floor. And you could see it in one corner of the Great Hall, a corner where a chair had been cut down to half height and then charmed to float up and down as needed. Yoda stood on it now. His plate was still too big, his knife still too long. He leaned on the table with both hands, studying a slice of toast that was almost the size of his head. He lifted a piece with his fingers instead. "Learned, I have," he muttered. "Some tools. Not for me, they are." Across from him, Professor Flitwick tried not to laugh into his porridge. "Adaptation, Master Yoda," Dumbledore said mildly. "The mark of a good wizard. Or Jedi." Yoda's ears twitched. "A Jedi adapts," he said. "Or falls." He looked out over the tables. Students came in, sleepwalk and rumpled. They glanced at him, then went back to their food. There was still curiosity in their eyes, still a bit of fear in some, but not as much shock as before. He had become part of the background in some minds. A strange one, yes, but there. "Attention, please," Dumbledore said suddenly, his voice gentle but firm. The hall quieted. "You will have heard," he said, "many rumors about the attack on Hogwarts, about Dementors and Death Eaters, and new powers." Murmurs ran through the hall. Dumbledore raised a hand. "I want you to know," he went on, "that the school's wards are being strengthened. You will see new patterns in patrols, new lessons in defense against the dark arts, taught by myself and other staff when possible. Some of those lessons may feel different from what you are used to. They are meant to help you stay calm and aware, whatever comes." His eyes flicked to Yoda. "And," he added, "Master Yoda has agreed to assist as a visiting teacher under my responsibility. He will not force anyone to attend his sessions. But those who do will be expected to treat him with the same respect you give any member of staff." At the staff table, Umbridge's teacup cracked in her hand. Her smile did not move. That is all for now, Dumbledore finished. Please continue eating. NEWT students, do not forget your transfiguration essays are due tomorrow. Yes, I see you pretending to forget. Laughter broke the tension. Yoda hopped down from his floating chair. Busy, I will be, he said. Welcome to teaching, Dumbledore replied. Harry's days grew even more crowded. Classes, homework, Quidditch, when Umbridge allowed it. Secret DA meetings that were not called DA meetings anymore, just study groups. And now, new lessons with Yoda that blended into all of it. Some were in the room of requirement. Some were in normal classrooms Dumbledore had accidentally assigned. In one defense lesson, Umbridge sat stiffly in a chair at the back while Dumbledore observed her teaching. Today, Umbridge said, voice too bright, we will continue reading page 38. Actually, Dumbledore cut in, I have invited a guest to speak briefly about defensive awareness. Umbridge's face went the color of spoiled strawberry jam. Yoda shuffled to the front. Fear, he said. Talk of that we will. Umbridge opened her mouth. Students do not need. Important it is, Yoda said smoothly, as if she had not spoken. In a fight, fear is. In exams also. In life. Pretend gone, you cannot. But choose, you can. What to do with it. He had them all close their eyes for 30 seconds and notice what they felt. Their hearts, their breathing, the way their hands wanted to grip wands too tight. He talked about how fear could make spells wild, how it could make someone forget a shield charm, how calm was not the same as not caring. He never mentioned the Force by name, but Harry felt it there, under the words. Umbridge watched, quill twitching in her hand, writing furious notes. After class, she stormed into Dumbledore's office. This is unacceptable, she snapped. He is teaching unsanctioned methods. He is undermining ministry curriculum. He is scaring the children. On the contrary, Dumbledore said, he is helping them not to be ruled by fear. Our children are already frightened, Dolores. I would rather they learn to breathe through it than pretend it doesn't exist. Umbridge's eyes glittered. The minister will not be pleased, she hissed. Dumbledore only smiled politely. Yoda sat on the windowsill, legs crossed, saying nothing. But he watched her carefully. He felt the way her fear twisted into anger, then into the need to control everything she could touch. He had seen many like her. Most of them had not been as pink. At night, when the castle grew quiet, Yoda returned to the hidden chamber of lines. He stood on the round platform, listening. The knot no longer screamed. The lines were smoother than before. The forest hummed in a grumpy, steady way instead of a frantic one. But the cold hook was still there, far away, tugging. Tonight it pulled harder. Yoda braced. He felt the pull not only under his feet now. It slid along the bright thread that tied Harry's scar to Voldemort's soul, humming through it like a plucked string. Again he reaches, Yoda muttered. He closed his eyes. He did not push back. He let himself be pulled, only part way. The world around him faded. He stood in a place that was not a place. It looked at first like the Hall of Prophecy. Long rows of glass orbs stretched into the dark. But the shelves shifted when he looked away. Doors appeared and vanished at the edges of his vision. The air hummed with whispers and ticking clocks. Voldemort had built this image from what he knew. The Department of Mysteries, the core of this world's magic, as far as he understood it. You are not welcome here, a voice said. Voldemort stepped out from between the shelves. He was tall and thin, bald, skin pale as milk, red eyes burning in a flat, serpentine face. His robes flowed around him like smoke. Yoda had seen many forms of darkness. This one was sharp and cold and lonely. Yet here I am, Yoda said. Voldemort smiled with no warmth. "You're strong," he said. "Stronger than these children. Stronger even than Dumbledore in some ways. You hold a power that is not of this world. A power that bends curses, moves walls, and steadies minds. I can feel it in every thread of magic you touch." He circled Yoda slowly. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" he asked. Yoda said. "A threat, you see." "Potential," Voldemort corrected. "You have felt it, have you not? This world's magic and your force touching. The wound between them, the doorway. You could use it." Yoda's ears twitched. "Use it. I already do," he said. "To try and heal." Voldemort laughed softly. "Such small goals," he said. "Heal a crack, calm a forest, train a few children to breathe. You could do so much more." He stopped in front of Yoda and leaned down, red eyes bright. "In your world," Voldemort said quietly, "you lost. Your order fell. Your students died. You failed to stop your Dark Lords. You went into hiding to lick your wounds and wait for others to fix what you could not. Does that feel good, old one?" The memory hurt. Yoda had spent many long years trying not to let it drown him. "Failure, yes," he said slowly. "Mine, it was. Live with it, I must. Learn from it, I must." Voldemort's smile widened. "What if you did not have to live with it?" he asked. "What if you could change it?" Yoda went very still. "These lines you stand on," Voldemort said, gesturing to the shifting floor. "They do not only bind this world, they brush worlds beyond. You were dragged here by a wound in them, but that wound can be widened, shaped, directed, with the right knowledge." Knowledge, he meant, stolen from the Department of Mysteries. Secrets of time, death, thought. "Imagine," Voldemort whispered. "You could open a stable door, reach back to your galaxy, call your people through, give them warning, give them weapons, rewrite your war. You could stop your Sith from ever rising. You could stop millions of deaths." Yoda's chest tightened. He thought of younglings in the temple, of clones turning their guns on friends, of a masked man burning on black rock. "You see," Voldemort said softly, "you are not as detached as you pretend. You want to fix your past, your failure. I am offering you a way to try." "And the price?" Yoda asked quietly. Voldemort's eyes glinted. "You will show me how your power works," he said. "You will let me study how it wraps around spells. You will help me bend these lines to my will. In return, I will share what I learn of death and soul and portals. Together, we could become more than any wizard or Jedi has ever been. We could guard 2 worlds, or rule them. The words do not matter. Only the power does." He straightened. "You hate war," Voldemort went on. "You hate having to fight. Join me, and we will end war. No one will dare oppose us." Yoda looked up at him. He saw the truth behind the words, not with the Force, just with long experience. Tom Riddle did not want to end war. He wanted to end resistance. "Once, a man I knew," Yoda said slowly, "made a similar offer. Peace, he promised. Security. End to war. If follow him, we did. Sith, he became. And with him, war without end." Voldemort's face twisted. "I am not this Sith," he hissed. "I am Lord Voldemort." "The same path, both walk," Yoda said. "Fear of death, need for control, refusal to accept limits. Always the same end." He stepped forward, tiny against Voldemort's looming shape. "Afraid you are," Yoda said quietly. "Of dying, of being forgotten, of being wrong. So cling to power, you do. To pieces of your soul. To lines between worlds. But no offer you make will change what you are." Voldemort's eyes narrowed. "You would turn down a chance to fix your failure?" he asked. "To save your lost order?" "Yes," Yoda said. The word surprised even him, but as he said it, he knew it was true. "Gone, they are," he said, voice softer. "Sad, I am. Guilty, I feel. But bring them back, I cannot. Not truly. Try, I might. And worse things I would make. Shadows, echoes, not life. Here, now, students I have. A war I have. This world I have. My duty, here it is. To guard, to teach, not to twist time for my pain." Voldemort's face lost its fake smile. "You're a fool," he spat. Yoda shook his head. "Fool, perhaps," he said. "But my choice this is. Refuse, I do. Your offer." Voldemort's eyes burned. "Then you will die here," he hissed. "Or you will watch these children die one by one until you beg me to take your power. Either way, old Jedi, you will learn what your mercy costs." The shelves around them began to crack. Glass orbs shook and shattered. The floor dropped. Yoda let the illusion fall. He opened his eyes. He was back in the chamber under Hogwarts, hand pressed to the glowing lines. His heart beat faster. Sweat dampened his robe, but he was himself. He sat down on the cold stone and breathed. "Hard it is," he muttered, "to let go. Harder to hold on without fear." He stayed there a long time. Harry saw Yoda's face in his dream that night. But this time, the old Jedi was not alone. Voldemort was there too, pale and furious, his voice a hiss at the edge of Harry's hearing. Harry felt the pull on his scar, the familiar ache. He woke with a cry. "Harry?" Ron mumbled from the next bed. "You okay?" Harry pressed his hand to his scar. "It was him," he said. And Yoda. He tried to talk to Yoda. To tempt him, I think. Ron sat up, suddenly more awake. "Did it work?" he asked. "I don't know," Harry said. "I think Yoda said no, but..." He couldn't shake the feeling of how sharp Voldemort's words had been, how they had poked at Yoda's guilt, the same way Voldemort poked at Harry's. The next day, Harry found Yoda in a high corridor, watching students file out of Transfiguration. He waited until the hallway was mostly empty. "Master Yoda," Harry said. Yoda looked up at him. "Tired? You look," Yoda said. "You too," Harry replied. They walked toward a window together. "I saw something," Harry said. "Last night. Him and you. He was trying to offer you something. To fix your past, wasn't he?" Yoda sighed. "Sharp he is," he said. "Knows where to press. In you, in me, in all." "Did you want it?" Harry asked quietly. "To change your war?" "Want. Part of me did," Yoda admitted. "Many mistakes I made. Many deaths I could try to undo. But deep down, know I do. That path, dark it is. Not for the dead, that power is. For the living, choice is." Harry leaned on the windowsill. "Sometimes I wish I could change mine," he said. "Stop him from killing my parents. Stop Cedric from dying. Stop Sirius from being locked away. But then I think, if I did, I wouldn't be me anymore. I don't know who I'd be." "Brave you are," Yoda said. "To see that. Hard it is. To live with loss. Harder. To carry it without letting it make you cruel." Harry looked at him. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "Stay? Try to go back." Yoda looked out at the Quidditch pitch. "Here, now. Needed I am," he said. "This war, yours is. But stand alone, you should not. So stand. I will. With you. As teacher. As guardian. Not as general." Harry let that sink in. "I don't want to be a weapon," he said quietly. "I know there's some prophecy. I know everyone expects me to fight him. But I don't want to be just a sword." Yoda nodded. "A symbol you are," he said. "A target also. But more than that, a person you are. In the end, choice is yours. Fight. Why you will. For revenge? For duty? For love? Important, that is." Harry thought of his friends, his house, the castle, The people who had died, and the ones who still lived. For them, he said. Yoda smiled. Good reason, that is, he said. The Order of the Phoenix met that night in the kitchen of Grimmauld Place. Yoda did not like the house. It hummed with old hate and bitter pride. The walls seemed to lean inward, but it was where these people gathered. So he went. Dumbledore, McGonagall, Molly, and Arthur Weasley, Kingsley Shacklebolt, Tonks, Lupin, Moody, Snape, and a few others sat around the long table. Maps and parchment covered it. Fawkes perched in a corner, having arrived by his own path. We know now, Dumbledore said, that Voldemort is reaching for something deeper than simple power. He has touched the magical lines, under Hogwarts and near the Ministry. He has used Dementors, Acromantulas, Boggarts, and even Horcrux energy to twist them. Tonks whistled softly. Could have just robbed a bank like a normal dark wizard, she muttered. Constant vigilance, growled Moody automatically. Yoda sat on a stack of books so he could see over the edge of the table. Pull, he does, Yoda said. But pull back, we can. Protect minds, we must. Shields, we need. Not only around bodies, around hearts, around souls, around the lines themselves. Snape folded his arms. You can guard the lines, he said. We cannot. We don't feel them the way you do. True, Yoda said. But feel your own minds, you can. Your own fear, your memories, your regrets. Discipline you have. Occlumency you use. Combine, we can. Your methods. Mine. Snape's eyes flickered. You are suggesting a shared training, he said slowly. My occlumency with your meditation. Yes, Yoda said. Teach, we both can. To students. To order. Even to those who do not like one another, His eyes twinkled at Snape. Snape snorted softly. This is madness, he said. Mixing. Muggle-born nonsense. Alien tricks. And proper mind shields. But he did not say no. Lupin smiled. I've seen odder study groups, he said. Count me in. Me too, said Tonks. Could use anything that helps keep you-know-who out of my head. They talked long into the night. They planned small, careful steps. Safe places to train. People who could be trusted. Warnings for those at the Ministry who might listen. At the end, Dumbledore turned to Yoda. You will not lead us, he said. I understand that. I would not ask you to. But will you stand with us? Yoda met his gaze. Stand. I will, he said. Lead. I will not. My war to command. This is not. My place, at the side it is. To remind. To calm. To sometimes push. To sometimes stop. Dumbledore inclined his head. Sometimes, he said softly. That is exactly what a leader should be. Yoda chuckled. Then perhaps, he said, more leaders. We need, who do not wish to be. Molly wiped her eyes with her apron. Well, she said briskly, if we're done deciding the fate of the world, I have tea and biscuits for those who are staying. Master Yoda, will you have a biscuit? Yoda's ears lifted. Biscuit, he repeated. Molly handed him one the size of his palm. He took a careful bite. His eyes widened. Dangerous these are, he said seriously. Too many, eat I could. The table laughed. For a moment, just a moment, they were not soldiers in a secret war. They were people, tired and stubborn and still willing to try. The castle settled into a new rhythm. Students still worried about homework, Quidditch, and dating. They still gossiped about who fancied who and who had fallen down a staircase. But they also whispered Yoda's little sayings to each other before exams. Calm first, they said, touching their chests. Spell second. They practiced Patronuses in empty classrooms, thinking of not just happy memories, but reasons. Reasons to stand when the cold came. Snape and Yoda ran a strange joint session once a week for older students and Order members. Snape taught occlumency, how to close off parts of the mind, how to build walls, how to hide. Yoda taught the opposite, how to notice thoughts without grabbing them, how to let them pass, how to feel fear and not let it steer. It was not easy, but it was something new, and under it all, the lines hummed, still strained, still under threat, but watched now, all the time, by a small green guardian who had chosen, at last, what kind of fighter he would be. Not a general, a teacher, a guardian of doors. The war outside Hogwarts would grow louder. But whatever came, the castle was no longer quite the same. It had a Jedi now, and the universe was taking note. The dawn over Hogwarts was pale and clear. From the astronomy tower, the world seemed very simple. Gray sky, green grounds, dark forest, distant lake. The air was cold, but the wind was gentle. Yoda stood at the edge, hands folded in his sleeves. The stone parapet came almost to his chin. He had to stand on a small crate someone had left there. His feet barely fit on it. He did not mind. He liked being high up, where he could feel the whole castle below, humming softly. He closed his eyes. He felt the lines under the stone, the bright sparks of early rising students, the sleepy glow of portraits, the slow, steady warmth of Hagrid's hut, the restless mutter of the forest. He also felt faintly the cold hook of Voldemort at the edge of the world, always there, waiting, planning. But today it didn't pull. Today it watched. Couldn't sleep either. Harry's voice was soft. Yoda opened his eyes. Harry stepped onto the tower, cloak wrapped around him, hair messy in the morning wind. He looked older than he had at the start of the year. Not in his face exactly, in the way he held his shoulders. "Nightmares?" Yoda asked. "A bit," Harry said. "Less than before." He came to stand beside Yoda, leaning on the parapet. They watched the sky together. The sun began to edge up over the hills, turning the clouds faint gold. "It's strange," Harry said after a while. "We did all those things. Fought Dementors, faced boggarts, talked to centaurs. You told Voldemort no. And yet, nothing huge has happened since. No big battle, no giant explosion. War, often like that is," Yoda said. "Many small choices, many small stands, big moments, few. Slow, change is, but real." "I keep waiting for the next disaster," Harry admitted. "Like, if I relax for 5 minutes, that's when it'll all go wrong." "Understandable, that is," Yoda said. "But if never rest you do, too tired, you will be, when disaster comes." Harry huffed a small laugh. "That sounds like something Hermione would say," he said. "Wise she is," Yoda replied. They stood in silence for a bit longer. "Do you miss them?" Harry asked. "You're Jedi." "Every day," Yoda said. "Faces I see. Voices I hear. Some young. Too young." Harry swallowed. "I miss my parents," he said, "even though I don't really remember them. I miss Sirius, even though I hardly see him. I miss things I never even had." Yoda nodded slowly. "Grief, that is," he said. "Missing what was, what could have been. Heavy it can be, but also a sign it is. That love there was, or hope. Good, that is. Painful, but good." Harry watched the light spread over the lake. "Do you ever regret coming here?" he asked quietly. "Being pulled through that wound?" Yoda thought. "Afraid I was," he said. "Angry at first. Another war, another Dark Lord, another group of young ones in danger. Part of me wished to go back to my swamp, hide again, but..." He smiled slightly. "Then met. I did. A boy with a scar, and a girl with too many questions, and a boy afraid of spiders, and others. Chance I saw. To help. To learn. To do better this time. Regret I do not. Hard it is. But right. It feels. Harry's throat felt tight. "I'm glad you're here," he said. Yoda's ears lifted. "And glad I am, that here you are," he replied. "Together? Less alone, we are." They started back toward the stairs. The tower door led to a narrow spiral staircase. As they stepped onto it, the stones shuddered. Harry groaned. "Not again," he said. The stairs twisted halfway, then stopped, leaving a gap of a few steps to the next landing. It wasn't huge, just big enough that a fall would hurt a lot. "This castle," Harry muttered, peering over the edge. "Honestly." He turned to go back. Yoda did not. He just looked at the gap, then at Harry. "Trust," he said. He stepped off the solid step into thin air. Harry's heart jumped, but Yoda did not fall. He drifted forward, feet a few inches above the gap, moving as if the air was solid. He reached the next stair and landed lightly. He turned and held out a hand. "Come," he said. Harry hesitated. Then he took a breath. He thought of all the times he had jumped without knowing the end. Sometimes he had nearly died. Sometimes he had flown. He stepped forward. For a moment, his stomach flipped. Then he felt it. A gentle lift. A soft, invisible push. He crossed the gap and landed beside Yoda. "See?" Yoda said. "Learned its lesson, this staircase has." Harry laughed. It felt good. They walked down together. Behind them, the staircase creaked and slowly slid back into place, as if embarrassed. Life at Hogwarts went on. The DA, whatever they called it now, met and trained. They mixed spells and breathing exercises and odd little balance drills. They learned to cast shields while someone shouted in their ears. They learned to laugh after facing fears. Umbridge wrote angry letters and new decrees. The Ministry argued with itself. The Daily Prophet printed more stories, some warning about alien influence, some quietly praising the way Patronus skills had spread among students. The centaurs watched the castle, bows ready but not drawn. Hagrid told anyone who would listen that Master Yoda was a right decent little bloke, you know, once you get used to the ears. In the Chamber of Lines, the knot glowed steadily. Still a wound. Still a door. But guarded now by a small figure who stood on the platform some nights and sent quiet strength along the threads. Far beyond the stars, in another galaxy, a young man on a desert planet sometimes felt a strange tug in his dreams, a sense of someone who should be there, but was not. A teacher he had not yet met. Yoda felt that too. He looked up at the sky one night from a Hogwarts window, eyes on a point no one else could see. "Soon, he murmured. Or later. Hard to say. For now, he had enough. A castle that groaned, a forest that grumbled, a dark lord that plotted, a headmaster that smiled too calmly, a spy that scowled, a group of teenagers who kept trying to help and sometimes succeeded. He had work. He had purpose. He had, in a strange way, a home. He closed his eyes and reached out. The force met the magic in the stones, in the wands, in the hearts of those who chose to stand. Did not care about worlds or names. It only flowed. Yoda let it move through him. "Much fear there is," he said softly, "but much hope also." The castle breathed with him. The war would come. They would meet it when it did. Together.